everybody, Dave here in the new to you Speakers Southern Workshop. We have an interesting set of very unique bookshelf speakers. Book speakers, bookshelf speakers. These are fairly well known. They are hard to find, however. And this is the Videoton, I'm not sure, I think Videoton D93 Musical Encyclopedia. And these are made in Hungary. We're going to take the cover off of this one so you get to see what's behind it. And we're going to do a full refurbishment on these. So this is supposed to be a Velcroed cover, and it's kind of constructed like a book cover. Behind that is a metal grill, perforated metal grill, which helps the book keep its shape on the spine side here. And then we have a wooden birch plywood box, some terminals on the back, and let's do a little zoom in here on the kind of condition we've got, which it's not pretty. So you can see that the foams are really disintegrated. I put a meter on one of these. It was fully shorted. The other one, we got a little sound out of one of the drivers, and that was it. I think the tweeter's bad and one of the other drivers bad, but who knows? Could be a lot of issues based on the condition here. So I'm not really sure if we're going to do these cosmetically. We're going to have these look like they just came off the production shop floor, which by the way is in Hungary. We'll get into a little bit more about Videoton as a manufacturer. They are, even to this day, kind of the Apple of Hungary, the #1 electronics manufacturer in the country of Hungary. Almost $1 billion in market capital. So they are a large company. These are made in the late 70s, according to what I've been able to find out. They were highly regarded, actually. I'm sure they don't have too much low end, but they're rated from about 100 hertz up to, some specs say 20,000. I'm not sure about that. And I have seen somebody did a frequency spectrum analysis on these and posted it online, and they don't look terrible. So I'm not sure if we're going to go through and do the complete refoaming on the drivers. We may decide to replace them. I suspect we're going to turn this into a Bluetooth kit. We're going to retrofit this with a Bluetooth kit, and I think they'll make a really nice set of bookshelf speakers, possibly paired with a subwoofer, depending on what kind of drivers we get for them. I'm not sure if we're going to keep the two-way arrangement. We got two drivers here for whatever you can get out of bass and mid-range, and then a separate tweeter. My understanding is that there's one capacitor in there for kind of a first-order crossover, but I haven't opened them up. I think that's really going to be where we'll start. We're going to open them up. We'll try to take you through the full refurbishment process on these. I'll have to do a little digging along the way to find out where we're going to go. We may have to order some parts. Well, I know we're going to have to order some parts. I don't know if we're going to go for a dual driver with a tweeter. We may just plug up one of these holes and just do one driver, one tweeter. Maybe we'll do a full range, one full range 3.5-inch driver. I got to do a little more research and think about that and cost out what the alternatives are. So let's get into it. I'm not going to take you through all the removal of screws, but when we get to something interesting, we'll certainly zoom in here. And certainly somewhere in this video, we will talk about that company history and talk about the background that we can learn about Videoton as a manufacturer. And these are the D93 Musical Encyclopaedias. So I did do a preview of this on my Instagram and Facebook. Some of you may have seen it there, and I said we would produce a complete resurrection video, and I think that's what we'll end up doing here. All right, so let's begin the journey. Let's bring you up to speed on how far we've made it so far. We've removed the drivers from the case. It looks like these are all the original drivers. We have the HA9/9K, two of those. You can see we've got the specifications right on there. Z equals 15 ohms, 60 to 22,000 hertz, 15/20 volt amps, made in Hungary. Same here on the tweeter. We have, looks like model HD 6.5/11, Z equals 8 ohms, 3,000 to 20,000 hertz, and 30 volt amps, made in Hungary. So we will, as our next step, we'll ohm these out. We've got some fiberglass insulation stuffed in the box as well. And so I think we're just going to, and these appear to be soldered, so I think we're going to unsolder them all next, and then dig into the box and see what's in there. Back in a minute. All right, we're back. We've got disassembly completed. This driver is open. This driver's open. 8.6 ohms on this, but no output. I think the voice coil, I barely hear a little tickle in there. Our capacitor, we assumed it was a simple first order. 6.9 microfarad capacitor. The loss on it and the ESR looks good, so that is a usable crossover. Speaker number 2, this driver's open, this driver's open. This driver measures 4 ohms on the tweeter and a little crackling. This capacitor is measuring 8.4 microfarads, and the loss and the ESR looks fine. So we've got 2 usable crossovers. The issue is we need up to 6 drivers. So that means we're going to now do some research and figure out what's the next best step on how to handle this. Our next visit will be when we have an update on that. We have an update for you. We've done some research on placement drivers, and we've got a new path forward on what we're going to try to do to resurrect these. So if I were to go online and search out all the normal sources for direct replacement drivers for what is in here, you're talking well over $100. I don't think that's a cost-effective solution, even though these are really cool. And what I decided to do is, it's a two-way system, simple filter here for a crossover, dual drivers with the tweeter, right? And what we're going to do instead is we're going to knock off this raised tweeter block. As you can see, there's an extra 1/2 inch thick wood block for mounting of the tweeter. I'm not 100% sure why that is the way it is, but that's the way they did it. Probably raise it up away from the main baffle, get rid of some deflection, reflections from this upper and lower piece, especially this upper one. So we're going to knock that off, and we're then going to put a new skin baffle over the top here and change this from a 3-driver system to a single full range driver. That's a fairly common path these days for bookshelf speakers, for your desk or workspace. I think that's in line with how these will be used by the next owner. And so we're going to convert this. I'm not going to do a total box disassembly because the box is really well made. I'm just going to put this 1/4 inch piece of ply over the top, drill one hole for a full range driver, which will sit in here. And I've ordered the full range driver. We'll put up some information about that now. It's going to be a couple weeks before it gets here because it is coming from overseas. And I'll show you the specs on that and a frequency response plot as well. And they're suitable for something that has a box this size, right? So it's only a little over 3 by 7 by 11. And so there's not a lot of internal volume there. So we'll probably do a sealed box and not a ported box as well. That's the path we're on. I will give you an update once I've got the box completed. We've got a little work to do to reattach these Velcro pieces for the cover as well. So we'll work on the box while we're waiting for the drivers to be received. Next update coming up. I'm back. In YouTube time, this is the next clip. In real time, this is now 6 weeks later, and unfortunately, I had a pair of drivers picked out for solving this issue, and they were from on AliExpress. 4-week delivery time came and went, waited a couple extra weeks. They now show out of stock, so I concluded that they weren't arriving. 3.5 inch full range driver, really inexpensive. That's the issue. They were Aima's, which is a popular AliExpress brand. The specs on them are quite good. I gave up and went to Parts Express instead. And these are the Videoton SL87FE. And they have comparable specs, not quite as good as the ones from Aima, but 3.5 inch drivers, not all that common, full range. These are 8 ohms. And what we've done is we've made a pair of new baffle skins, essentially, to hold these drivers. So we're ready to go at this point. The baffle skins are done. We've got our wiring completed. I stuffed a little more polyfill into the boxes. So the boxes are ready. And at this point, it's going to be just an assembly process. So we have had to bevel the gaskets on the edge of these because this domed shaped or concave shaped grill, which is steel, is not going to flex or move. So I just had to shave a little bit of material off the edges of these gaskets, and then it conforms beautifully. Actually, I had to bevel the gaskets too, or the baffles. So the baffles are beveled, and then when the driver sits in there, we had to continue that bevel to go along with the arc of the cover here. So that's all there is to it. We're going to glue and screw these up and solder in the drivers, and then we'll come back to you and show you the final product. Let's take a few minutes and learn about Videoton and what they do. The Wikipedia listing is fairly informative. Formed in 1938. When we look at the history a little bit more on the website, we'll see they actually started out making ammunition. And, these days they're essentially a contract and OEM and ODM electronics manufacturer. They are the largest electronics manufacturer in Hungary. And their sales, you can see here, revenues are over €500,000 a year, so good sized company, and they're profitable, they're making money. I thought it was interesting to note here that they became fairly well known publicly when they made large scoreboards for stadiums, so kind of like the Jumbotron in the US. I think everybody knows that name. These guys were the Videotons, and so that's kind of interesting. Actually, let's take a look at, in the 60s and 70s, they did a lot of audio and speakers. So here's the a range of speakers that they did, all different types and sizes. Kind of interesting, wide selection. They had one called the Minimax, which looks like probably one of their most popular models. There's the Minimax. And then here's a kind of a range of the TV sets that they did. You can find all this information on radiomuseum.org. So radios and TVs, primarily solid state, but there's some tube stuff in here as well. Actually, there's our speaker. Ours was actually, our specific one is stamped 1975, so I know some places they say 78, but ours was made before that. If we go to the company site here, there's their primary website today. You can go back and look at the old history. Here it is, going back to 1938. Hunting cartridges, detonators, metal goods factory. There's their original logo. At this time it was owned by the state. So, and then obviously after World War II, things got a little more difficult. There's the history here. They terminated artillery production in 1954. And you see, got into radio receivers and military combat receivers. Then they started TVs. You get up here to 1968. There's the logo, the VT-TV logo that's on our speakers. So that certainly dates them after 1968 when that logo was created. And it mentions the new name, Videoton Radio and Television Factory, with new logos. So that's what we've got. And it goes all the way up to present day today. Another thing that I found interesting, they have some of their old literature here. So here's old posters that they had marketing their products. There's some old radios and TVs. And this one here, I got a real kick out of this one. This is the, actually let's switch over to a better photo of it. Easy Nem Kaska, Izia Videoton. I'm sorry, I don't know my Hungarian, but we have a woman, and she's not carrying the ducks on her head in a basket like you might expect, but they're on the TV. And I did a little Hungarian translation for Google's not too good, but basically says this is not a joke. Portable color TV is real, something along those lines. So very unusual, I guess, advertisement, a blending of the old and the new. So, and you can go back into the archives, and then you see all sorts of information just like our speaker, our D93. And of course it has all the specs are all listed here, just as we uncovered. So very interesting company, still in existence today, been around a long time, coming up on 100 years in another decade or so. And don't know, if you had to compare them to something today, it sounds like they're like Jabil or Benchmark or one of the, contract electronic manufacturing companies from the US, Flextronics, something like that. All right. Hope you enjoyed that little diversion. Back to the speakers. Okay, here we have them. They're done. So we've mounted the drivers. This is our perforated metal grill, metallic grill. This gives the spine of the book. And then we repaired our grill cloth. I had a gold paint pen and touched that up a little bit, and so the Velcro just wraps around there. So there's our musical encyclopedia volumes 1 and 2. I'll probably do a little bit of cosmetic work here. I've got some holes to fill, and there's some sun fading where there was some brackets mounted on there, but we'll get that blended in, and that's it. We'll do a quick listen so you can enjoy them.